Top of the morning to you, and happy St. Patrick's Day tomorrow, YouTube friends and family. So I have a little quiz for you. What's green and sits on your back patio? Patio furniture. I'm here the whole video. All right, guys, what are we going to do today? Well, in honor of the fact that I am about 50% Irish, I am going to be making some Irish soda bread. So I hope you all will come along and enjoy this very traditional treat. Stay tuned. Well, I want to start by saying there were 7 confirmed tornadoes in Ohio last night. I have never, ever had a season where there has been so much tornadic activity this early. So far as I can tell, everything here is okay. My patio furniture was a bit rearranged, but it's still dark out. It is just a little bit after 7. I have an appointment today, and so I thought, let's get up and get after it and get started cooking because I want to make this very traditional treat. So first, let me say, I will drop a link in the description box to the recipe. A lot of you ask when I'm cooking from a cookbook, why don't you print out the recipe? If the cookbook is still in circulation and it's copyrighted, I don't need a copyright strike. So I try to be very clear about the ingredients, but for this case, you can just click on the link. It will take you directly to the recipe. You can print it off, write it down, whatever works for you. So let's first talk a little bit about the history of Irish soda bread. It was first created, and I have some talking notes, in the late 1830s when an early form of baking soda was introduced in the UK. So I had my Ancestry.com genetic studies done, and I am, you might as well say, about half Irish, half English, with a little South African thrown in there. But obviously, you know, I kind of have the fair complexion Irish coloring, as did my dad. So due to Ireland's financial strife and limited availability of access, you know, to different ingredients, the inspiration for soda bread was one of necessity because they wanted to make good use of the items that were available to them, which would be soft wheat flour. So there's hard red and soft white. Soft white is more of a pastry flour, baking soda, salt, and sour milk. What we would call today buttermilk. Since many of the Irish did not have an oven, they cooked it in iron pots, you know, so like an iron pot with a lid, which we do that nowadays, but we generally bake it in the oven, not over the hot coals. Or they cooked it on griddles in the open hearth, and that made for a very firm bread, a chewy bread with a hard crust on the outside and a slight sourness. So in Southern Ireland, they make, and that's what we're going to be making today, a more traditional round loaf dusted with flour with the X on the top. And in Northern Ireland, they cut it more in pie shapes and make like flatbreads out of it. So I thought that was very, very interesting. You know, I love a little bit of history, and I like to know where the idea from food came from. So the first thing we're gonna do is, let me just give you some housekeeping tasks. I'm gonna go over and I'm gonna preheat my oven to 350. Now y'all know I have a split oven, but I can cook at the top, or I can cook the full oven. It's not like two completely separate ovens. I find for me, for baking bread, it's best for me to use the whole oven, because when you just use the top, it cooks from the heating element. So for bread, sometimes it will overcook the crust and it'll still be a little doughy on the inside. So we're gonna do that. And then you need a baking sheet. And I've got all my ingredients over here. This is something you can do by hand, which I really like as well. So let me get my oven preheated, gather a couple things from the fridge that we're going to need, and we'll get started making some foolproof Irish soda bread. Stay tuned, y'all. I hope you will excuse the fact that my hair is kind of frizzy. It has rained and rained and rained here, and I kind of didn't finish my thought. I wanted to share with you my thoughts and prayers are with any of you in Indiana or Ohio that were affected. I know there was a lot of damage. So, okay, done with the serious stuff. Let's get to baking some bread. So the first thing you're gonna need to do is, in a 2-cup measuring cup, I have placed 1 1/3 cup of whole milk. And to that, we are going to add 1/3 cup of apple cider vinegar. So I've got to kind of hunch down here, guys. I must be living right. That was exactly the right amount. So we'll get that out in the recycling bin. I'm gonna just set this aside, but what will start to happen, and I hope y'all can see, and not real well, it immediately starts to bubble, thicken, and turn it into buttermilk. That's basically what we're making. Now, could you use 1 2/3 cup of buttermilk? I'm sure you could. This is the way Martha did it, and I'm a huge fan of Martha Stweart. When I was a relatively new bride, she was all the rage, and I very much envied her sense, I don't know if admired her sense of style and her knowledge base. Okay, so preheated the oven. We have our baking sheet prepped. I'm just using a USA pan. It is linked in the description box with an Amazon sill pad. I like that. You could use parchment paper as well. Now it says mix milk and vinegar and let stand until thickened about 5 minutes. So while this is thickening, we're going to combine our dry ingredients, which is flour, salt, baking powder, and baking soda. So for flour, you know I can't have everything out, y'all. Where's my flour? Oh dear. So I may have to, in fact, I know I will. Let me go top this off from my long-term pantry. Ill prepared. One of the benefits of having an overflow pantry, you can fill up things as you run out. I've been grinding my own grain, but for this recipe, I decided to use all-purpose flour that I purchased. So the next ingredient is, I shouldn't have printed this double-sided, salt. So it says that we need 2.5 teaspoons of a coarse salt. So one of the things about this bread is, because it does have raisins in it, it's going to come out like kind of a sweet and salty both, I think. So that's 1.5 teaspoons. And I'm just using my red mineral salt and 2. And I'll tip you down here in just a moment. All right, a teaspoon each of baking powder and baking soda. And y'all, I do get questions privately, and you are always welcome to do that. My email is down in the description box. I love these lock and lock type storage containers. I did purchase my label. It's the baking powder. We'll do the same with the baking soda. But you could also make them on a Cricut or print them on a label or handwrite them on a label. It doesn't have to be fancy. This is one of the things when I did some reorganizing, and guys, I know I need to get back on that, that has stayed very well, and I haven't had to alter or change anything. And I can see at a glance if I'm getting low on something. So we have our 3 cups of flour, our teaspoon each of baking soda and baking powder, our 2½ teaspoons of salt. And we are to whisk that together. I'm going to use my Danish whisk. And then the next thing we need to do is we need to cut in some unsalted butter with a pastry cutter or 2 knives until it resembles coarse crumbs. And it is 4 tablespoons. So yeah, and that's not enough. Thankfully I got out a new one. It's always easier, y'all, to I think do it with cold butter. It makes a better texture if you're doing like a pastry crust, but I think pastry in general. So that would be half a stick of butter. And I am gonna cut it into some small cubes before I put it in. I just think it makes it easier. And if y'all hear some noise in the background, Fridays is my laundry day. And the oven also makes a bit of noise as it preheats. So I'm just cutting them into little cubes like this. And this is still pretty cold. Just got it out when I was trying to have everything out and ready for y'all, but don't always do that. So what we are going to do here is we're going to cut it in just as if you were making like biscuits or a pie crust until the mixture resembles coarse crumbs. I like to do it with a couple knives or a knife and a fork. I just don't have good luck with my pastry cutter. It's probably operator error. So let me get this in here. You can kind of see what it's looking like. I want to do these in very small pieces because I don't want to be on the struggle bus. And then I'll bring y'all back when I have it cut in. So again, you can just use 2 knives like this. You can use a knife and a fork, or you can use a pastry cutter. So I'll bring you back in a few. All right, y'all, that's pretty coarse crumbs. So now comes the odder ingredients. So the last dry ingredients we're going to add is 1 cup of wheat bran. Now I'm using Bob's Red Mill because quite honestly, I had to order this because I couldn't find it at any local grocery store. It's very coarse, which is what you're looking for. So let's put in a cup. Oop, and try not to, yeah, that's about right. And then this is quite odd, y'all. It calls for 1/4 cup of caraway seeds. So this is going to give it sort of a rye bread flavor. I absolutely love rye bread. It is my favorite bread. And it's even better with grape jam. And then the last ingredient is a cup of raisins. So let me get this mixed up well first so that whatever sticks to the raisins will at least be an even mixture. So super simple so far, right? Y'all, it smells so good. It does smell like rye bread. All right. And thankfully, Sunday is my Azure pickup because I'm about out of raisins after making the pudding, and then I just like to eat them. I like me some raisins. I like them on salads, and I eat a lot of salads, so yeah. Almost there. Maybe just a few more for good measure. Okay, we're gonna give this a good mix. Get this out of the way so I don't knock it on the floor. Y'all know me, y'all know me. And just try to break up any raisin clumps. so this is what we have. Looks pretty delish. So the next step, sorry to keep having to flip this page, is to pour the milk into the mixture and stir just until moistened. So I want to show you, can you see the thickened, clumpy nature of the milk? Yeah, this soured beautifully. So I'm just going to pour that in. And we'll give it a light stir. Now the next step is to turn the dough out onto a lightly floured surface. And you want to pat and press it into like a round dome-shaped loaf. And it says about 7 inches in diameter. So let me get this the rest of the way. And I am going to grab a spatula to get the rest of this out because some of it clung to the sides. Y'all, I'm amazed. It is 7:30 now and it is still really dark out, so it must be overcast. The rain is past now, but it is a muddy mess. Yeah, so it smells to me like buttermilk biscuits now. One day we'll have smell-o-vision, y'all. Okay, we're pretty good here. All right, let me get this out of the way. Grab my flour again. Oops. My counter's very clean. My hands are also clean. And we're gonna spread it out. And then let's just dump it out here. A little bit of the dry, I think we can kind of incorporate it like right on the countertop very easily. So very interesting dough, is it not? Very sticky too. I probably should have floured my hands a little better. Let's kind of start bringing it together. Make sure none of the raisins escape. Y'all get back in there. I think the raisins are going to be the best part. So it is a very rustic looking bread in the pictures. It's not like, you know, super smooth and perfect. That's just not the type of bread that it is. Well, you get in there. See if I can get some of this dough off my hands. Because you can't eat what's rushed down the drain, right? Let me wash my hands, and then I'll bring you back for the final shaping, and we'll get it into the oven. All right, y'all, I'm pleased with that. So the next thing you want to do is lightly dust the top with more flour. Not sure why, but we're gonna follow the directions. I'm trying not to do that. It'll be fine. Okay, that looks pretty good. And then the last thing is you want to cut your X about 3/4 of an inch deep. So I will tell you, when I picked this bread up off the counter, it is dense. It is heavy. So be prepared for that. Don't think you goofed. It's not a yeast bread. Okay, I'd say we have a winner here, other than maybe I could get some of that flour off. I don't want it to burn and taint our bread. Okay, that's better. And into a 350-degree oven. Now, hour and 10 minutes, y'all. Let me tip you up. Hour and 10 minutes, but you want to rotate your bread halfway through. So I'm going to set it for 35 minutes, and then we'll rotate it. And how do you know it's done? It says a tester inserted in the center comes out clean. So let's get it in the oven, and I'll see you in about an hour and 10 minutes. All right, y'all, our beautiful Irish soda bread is all finished. It did take the full hour and 10 minutes. It is a heavy bread, that's for sure. So let me cut a piece here. And the traditional way, yep, that is definitely a crusty crust, that it is served, and I'm sorry to talk with my back to y'all's. It says serve it with salted butter. So they're playing up the salt, that's for sure. Well, come on with it. You know, the first piece is always ugly, y'all. That's okay. There you have it. You can still see the steam coming off. Let's put a little salted butter on. And you know, butter makes everything better, right? And the reason you're at an odd angle is I was trying to show my St. Patty's decor here. I don't have a lot up, but just a mushroom candle holder. This says kiss me. This says happy St. Patty's. This says not lucky, just blessed. And then this is a vintage style. It's a reproduction. The price tag says $2.99. I think I purchased this actually at Dollar General. But let's go ahead, tip you back up, and we'll do a little taste test. Frizzy hair and all. So I'm very interested in this. It's, as you see, it's kind of dense. Wow. Definitely has that rye back note with the sweetness of the raisin, but it's a savory bread, guys. Not sweet at all, and there's no sugar in it. Now, I had mentioned in one of my videos that even though I'm cooking things that are sugar-free for treats, they aren't carb-free. The one good thing about this is it's very high in fiber with that cup of unprocessed wheat germ. You know, this is a winner. A little bit of a buttermilk biscuit taste to it too. This would be a great side bread for like, you know, your corned beef and cabbage if you do that for St. Patrick's Day, because it's not desserty at all. And I really thought it would be sweeter. I don't know why, but I love it. So drop me a wee comment below. Are you Irish? Have you ever made any Irish soda bread? And if so, are you a with or without raisin? Because not every recipe the raisins are used. I happen to love raisins, so I happen to choose a recipe like that. So we made it through this week, even though I was really worried I wouldn't have time for the videos. I've done okay, guys. I've done all right. You hear the laundry going still in the background, so it was sheets, towels, and wearing clothes day. But at any rate, I will see you next week. So if you could do me a huge favor, if you'd go ahead and smash that like button. If you know someone who's looking to bake an easy bread, you know, without a mixer or a lot of kneading for their St. Patty's Day celebration, go ahead and share that video. So depending on the device, if you're on a cell phone or an iPad, down below where the video is playing, there's an arrow that says share. If you click on that, it will bring up, sorry, I just spit, the options that are on whatever device that you're using. So you can hit text or email or whatsoever. That really helps me out a lot. I have to say, guys, my last 3 videos were really down on views, and I don't know that it was so much like a bad video or bad content. It's just I think people are busy now that the weather's warming up. But at any rate, I will see you next week, and until then, be healthy. The dryer. Be well. Be blessed and take care.